I'm Savannah McCann with GALvanize, and I am so excited about my conversation for our Who Not Do series. She's the daughter of an NFL head coach, but Alex McCarthy is making a name for herself. Alex, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
I am too. Let's get to it.
Woo! And one thing that we share in common, we chit chatted a little bit before this interview started, and something we share is a love for Pittsburgh. It's so much a part of who I am, it's behind me in this interview. I know you left Pittsburgh when you were younger, but how much has it shaped you, and how much is it a part of who you are?
I think, I started out in Pittsburgh, so it was kind of like the first reference of life that I really ever had. And then we were always going back, even once we had moved. We moved around a bunch, we've lived in a bunch of different cities. So I think for Pittsburgh, the influence that it's had on me is just, it always kind of felt very family oriented, community driven. We didn't have a yard or white picket fence in the areas that we were in. I just always felt it was like less about what you had and more about who you are there. And we were just hanging with our family and our neighbors, and it was just always so simple. And I love Pittsburgh. I'm so thankful that I started there and that we're from there, and that's the foundation that was really laid for us with our lives kind of went off to change a bit after we left, but I have always looked forward to going back, and some of my memories there are my happiest that I have. So I love Pittsburgh.
I miss it so much. it is a really special place, and people from Pittsburgh are very special, and we love talking about being from Pittsburgh. We're even more excited to chat with you more about it because it is just such a special place that breeds really special people.
Definitely. There's definitely a common thread.
Did you realize at a certain point in your life that maybe people looked at you differently because of who your dad is?
Um, I guess I never thought about it being looked at differently. I think that I always felt a little bit extra pressured to stay in line. I've always felt very normal. So I don't know if I felt like I was being looked at differently, but I definitely felt like an extra sense of pressure, like you've been really blessed, you need to just behave.
Did that kind of make you struggle with your relationship with football at all? You know, it brings your family its greatest highs and its greatest lows all very publicly.
I think that I've definitely struggled with like the hiring and firing and moving cities and communities and, all of that. I'm sure everyone who's jumping around from job to job, they feel that way. Their families probably feel that way. But I think that um, with the actual game of football itself, I don't think I've ever actually struggled with the game. I think actually it's been the opposite, where the game has positively influenced me. I think that even just by watching, you don't even have to be playing. You're watching these men like put themselves through extreme circumstance and get hit and get knocked back, harder than you can imagine, and then they get back up and do it again. And I think that sort of a metaphor for life is like that's a beautiful thing to see in a weird way, where it's like you can apply that to yourself. The sport itself requires communication and discipline and trust, and I mean a lot. It requires a lot. So I think that in that sense, football has kind of reflected life for me. My dad would be so proud of this.
I was going to ask, did he tell you to say all that?
Yeah, I'm like, it sounds like this, you wrote this or something. But I just think, the dedication, the discipline, the trust, the communication, like all of these skills are valuable in any arena.
Well, in your own life, you're building a life out in LA and you're an aspiring actress. What made you decide to create your own path totally separate of a ranch in Texas or going into sports?
Um, I don't, honestly, in terms of my own fulfillment and happiness, I don't really feel like I had a choice but to build my own path. I love a lot of people, especially my family, but I don't think that you should live your life for anyone else. And I never really considered going into sports. Even the acting and producing thing was a little bit, I don't think it was a late decision, but it wasn't something that I decided to do until after I had graduated college. I don't know. I think that you go where there's the most heart. And for me, that wasn't to follow into sports. It never called to me, to be totally honest. And so I just felt like I needed to kind of chase my own thing. And I do think I've been really lucky where I got to not only watch someone chase their dreams, but I got to watch him accomplish them. I got to watch him climb the ladder and become a head coach and, eventually win a Super Bowl. And I feel like that kind of like subconsciously gave me permission to do the same. Maybe not win a Super Bowl, but to chase my own dreams. So, yeah, I think I didn't have a choice. I just was like listening to what was going on internally.
But something that a lot of women in the spotlight we share in common is stalkers. And it's something in GALvanize that we talk about and we lean on each other for support. And for you, you have a story to share as well. You were 22 years old dealing with a very serious stalker. How
Yeah.
scary was that?
It was very scary. I also think that it's crazy that it's so common in your industry, where my situation is a little different, where I, at that point, hadn't chosen to be an actress, to put myself into the public eye. It's wrong. It's wrong for a man to use his physical presence and power over you to make you feel physically and emotionally terrified. And mine went on for a while, and it's been a major obstacle for me. But I think that there's a lot to learn from it. And I think that for a long time, it's been about 5 years now, maybe like 2 years since it really stopped, but it started 5 years ago. And I think that I had so much shame talking about it, where I would almost talk about it out of like nervousness. And then I would feel like I just put my negative on whoever I spoke to about it. So then I felt like I couldn't talk about it because I didn't want to like bring the mood down or, burden somebody else with my problems. But I think that any type of any type of situation like that, regardless of what it is, you feel very vulnerable. And I think it's important to have a community where you can talk to other people about this, because really until I had met you guys, I didn't know anyone else that had a stalker. There was no one that I felt like I could maybe run this process by. So yeah, I think community is a major thing. And I think that we should like lift this veil of like guilt and shame. Like I remember being like, well, what was I wearing? Did I warrant this? Like, did I ever like do anything to insinuate interest in this? Or, and it's like, why I didn't do anything wrong. I think it's wrong that we even go there with ourselves, where, if we had more of a push to discuss these things, I think that we could navigate it a little easier,
Absolutely. And that's why this GALvanize community, I mean, like, shout out to GALvanize. This
For
community
real.
is amazing. It gives people who might be ashamed or nervous to talk about something like stalking of, well, it's just a me thing, so I don't want to bring everyone down. It gives
Right.
you a platform to talk about and be like, oh, wait, you too? Okay, how do you deal with this? But it seems like you have you call it an emotional tool belt, but you have a way of dealing with it and calling people and knowing when it's okay to say, hey, I'm nervous or I'm scared or I want to
Yeah.
just talk about this. I think
Yeah.
that's so important and the great first step to normalizing conversation around stalking
Yeah.
and things like this.
Yes, totally.
My last question for you. Right now, when we hear the name McCarthy, we think of the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Let's
Yeah.
picture it 10 years from now and someone
Okay.
says the name Alex McCarthy. What's one thing you hope that they say about you that your name brings up in people?
Um, I hope that my name just always warrants a smile and encourages vulnerability and perseverance and selflessness. I don't need to be anybody more than who I am. I just hope that I can be someone who either impacts the world positively, whether it's in a big or small way. I hope that I can just get the job done. And hopefully I'm on my way to do that. So that's what I would hope.
Well, your name brings a smile to my face, and this interview has just brought a big smile to my face, and I could talk to you forever.
My Pittsburgh sister. There we go.
Exactly. I told you, Pittsburgh has a funny way of bringing people
Yes,
together.
it really does.
Well, I could talk to you forever, but I want to thank you for being a part of our Who Not Do series with GALvanize. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm really thankful to be a part of something like this. So I appreciate it.